Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by special guest Vuola. He is a drummer, a studio manager, and a producer. His music has a shimmer of darkness, a touch in space, beauty, aspiration, and despair. So we're going to be talking to him about his music and any projects that he has coming or that he's working on. So Vuola, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
I'm a artist from Finland, and I just recently released my first solo album. And I've been playing in different bands for more than 20 years, and I run a music studio, and it's been 12 years now. And still, this is my first project that I sing and do basically everything myself.
Well, what got you started? What fueled your passion to want to get into music and run a studio and all the great things that you're doing?
Well, I was a normal kiddo taking piano lessons when I was something like 7, and then I got more drawn by drums, and I basically built my first drum kit out of kettles, my mom's kettles, when I was something like 7 or 8 years, and then I got my first real drum kit when I was 10, and since then there's been no stopping. I started playing in bands in my teenage years and picked up electric guitar as well when I was young, and then I started recording our bands first on C cassette, and then afterwards I started working in different studios and finally built up my own.
Well, talk about some of the bands that you played in. Tell us about them and also tell us what kind of music you do.
Well, I mostly do classic rock. I have a couple of bands uh, that I played with. One of them is the Crammers, uh, by the name is the same as Kelsey Grammer in Fraser. You can find us online too, and we are actually in the process of pre-producing our eighth album, which we are going to record in UK this summer in a studio that the Queen recorded alive at the opera, tonight at the opera, and Oasis recorded their hit album Morning Glory, and Motorhead was there, and Black Sabbath and bands like that. So we are very motivated to go there and make our classic recording, I would assume.
Well, who are your big influences when it comes to music and why you do what you do? Who are your big influences?
Well, when I was young, I listened to Metallica and Guns N' Roses. Appetite for Destruction was my first CCAS, and that pulled me in the rock. And then Soundgarden was one of my big influences when I was young, and I'm a big fan of Kim Tail in guitars. Then in my teenage years, I got somehow pulled to the older stuff: Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, King Crimson, Emerson, Lake Palmer, the prog side of rock, and yeah, I think that's where my influences are. And this particular album that I just released, that's very heavily influenced by Led Zeppelin and the rock greats.
Okay, well, I know you talked about getting ready to record with your band, your eighth studio album, but tell us
Yeah.
about any current or upcoming projects that you're other than that you're working on that people need to know about, or kind of tell us what we can expect if listeners listen to this album coming up.
Mm. In the studio, I'm working with a band called Hex Vessel at the moment. They are doing their sixth album, and yeah, it's gonna be something very very nice. And yeah, what else? With Willie and the Good Souls, we just had a gig yesterday, and yeah, we are planning to record some new stuff as well. We just released our eponym album, Willie and the Good Souls, a couple of years ago. I think it was pre-pandemic, and yeah, then we didn't have any very much gigs to support the album, but the normal story. That's about it. Yeah, the Crammers is making new stuff. Willie and the Good Souls. At some point, those are the active projects of mine, and of course my solo project.
Okay, well, give out your contact information so people can find you and listen to your work, your website, any social media links so people can connect with you.
Yeah, the easiest way is to find me on my webpage. That has every link on the page, and that's vuo.la. So that's basically my artist name, Vuola, and dot before LA. So vuo.la, that's where you can find me. And I'm on every music service and YouTube. I have 3 nice videos now out, and yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook as well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, vuo.la. Be sure to go check out that music and check
Yeah.
out all that they're up to. Go ahead and close us out with some final thoughts before we wrap it up.
Yeah, on my webpage you can also find my Bandcamp link, and in case you want to support me, you can buy the album, and by buying the album, you're going to support the victims of Ukrainian war as well. I'm going to give all the proceeds of this project to the victims of the war.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to support Ukraine, that's one way you can do it. If you want to support the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, please be sure to follow, rate, review, share this episode after listening. And Android listeners, go to the Google Play Store and download the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast app. Thank you so much for joining me today, Vuola.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.